Hello everyone, this is Colleen with yarnwars.com, and today we are going to be making what I am calling the Northern Lights purse or beach bag, or there's also, I'm going to make a smaller one in the video today because the patterns all work up the same. It just, you know, it's the size of it is dependent on you, your hook size. And I am using the Bernat Pop, which I think the colors in these are so much fun. This is this is the first one I made. And I made a Scandinavian rope handle to go with it, which is really fun. And it's really quick and easy to make up. So I'll show you that in this video as well. This color for the Bernat Pop, this one is, give me just a second, I want to get the right one because I have a couple of these different ones. This one is full spectrum, and I know a lot of the Walmarts are getting these in, so if you haven't been to Walmart in a while, or if you've been waiting, you know, check with them to see if they have some in the back if they don't have them out yet. A lot of them have them. They just haven't put them out yet. And this one here is a beach bag I made. It's a little bigger, and I don't know if we can get this all in here or not. But this is another fun one. And this color is Paisley Pop. So this is Paisley Pop. This is full spectrum. And for the video today, I will be using Gold Rush River. And they come in these little cakes. And like I said, there's a lot of fun colors to choose from. Not a ton, but there's some fun ones in there, and they work up in kind of a stripe manner. So we'll be using this today, and I am, like I said, I'm going to make it a little smaller. So it's more of like a clutch, something you could even keep your crochet hooks in and all of that fun stuff. So bear with me for a moment while I find my tail. I'll pop back in just a second. Let me just go over real quick with you. The beach bag I did in an M hook. Okay. So I did make this a little larger, and I did a different kind of rope for this one, and I just did a twist on it. Kind of stitched them together so they were stuck in place. And this one I worked a J hook with, so you can see the difference in that. You've got everything a little closer together, so more of a purse. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to be using a J hook. If you use a smaller hook, you're just going to have a bit of a smaller bag. You know, that can determine the size, the outcome of your bag, that along with the weight of your yarn. So if you're using a different weight of yarn, if you haven't gotten the Bernat Pop in, yours might vary in size. You're going to want scissors or snippers, a blunt needle to hide in tails, and another thing that's going to come in handy that mine is kind of popped out of its little thing, so I just have a jumble of it here, but is a measuring tape, and that will be very helpful for you on the handle end in the end. If you'd like to use a stitch marker, which I will be using a stitch marker, then you'll want to grab one of those as well. And for my stitch marker, I'm just going to use a different color yarn than the yarn I'm using. I just find it a lot easier. So we're going to start out with our chain, and we'll be working an odd number for our starting chain. So we're going to make our slip knot. And for this one, I am going to be working a total of, I think I'll do 27. We'll see what that is. So we're going to do a chain. I'm going to start with 27 and see if I want to go longer from there. Okay, I'm going to stop it right there. I think that's going to be perfect for what I want to do on this one. And then starting with our second chain, and this time you're going to want, in some of my other videos I talk about working along the back spine. On this one we want to work in the chains, and you'll see why in a moment. We're going to be working down this row and coming back the other side. So we do want both of those loops in there. Starting from this chain right here, our second chain from the hook, we are going to make single crochet into each stitch down. We're down to our last two chains. And forgive me guys, my hands are just a mess. They're so chapped and oh. All right, so we've come to our last chain. We're going to work that one and we're going to add two more to kind of pull us over to the other side here. So in that same chain we'll have a total of 3 single crochets. And this last one here. And see how that kind of just wraps us over here to the other side. Now I'm going to hide my tail in as I go, and most of you know how to do this, I'm sure. But if you are not familiar with hiding your tails in as you work down your project to kind of save yourself a little time in the end, just hold that yarn above the stitches you're making and you're going to work right over it. We're going to work 1 single crochet into each of the stitches down from here. So we're going to go 1 in there and see how I'm working over that tails right there. And I'm coming over and grabbing my working yarn, pulling through and working right over that. And I'll just drop that tail when I feel I've worked it in enough, which will be soon. I'll drop it right here. I'll stop working that in. And the nice thing about this is I can just clip it off when I get to the end of everything because I've already kind of tucked it away there. We're just working our 1 single crochet into each of the chains down the opposite side of our foundation chain. All the way down until we reach our last stitch. In our last stitch we're going to work 2 single crochets into. So when we get to the end of this row, we'll have a total of 54. We'll have an even number of stitches when we get to the end. That's why I want to start with the odd number. So we finished off with 2 single crochets into our last stitch, and we are going to work continuously around for the first few rows. So you're not going to chain up, you're not going to join. We're going to work straight into this stitch right here with a single crochet. And this is why it's good to have a stitch marker right now, because it would be easy to lose your place when you do a continuous stitch around, so you're not losing track of where you started. So we're working, like I said, just single crochet. Oops. Go in that. Single crochet into each of our stitches around, which is going to make this part start curling, and that's going to be the bottom of our bag. And the side facing you is the right side, unless of course you flip it the other way and then you're working with the wrong side on the outer side of it. But we're just going to work all the way around with single crochets. I'll speed up some parts of this, so if you're comfortable with what we're doing in the round, you can pause the video, finish up, and then just restart for the next round. But this bag is really quick to make up too. Once you get the rows down, there's only like 3 rows, or 3 different rows, and then it's repeat from there. So it's real simple. All right, so we're coming in here. So 54 is going to be our magic number for our rounds. I'm just getting through this first round, and then I'll super speed in other areas so that I can just quickly get through it for you, because the first few rows are the same. Okay. You can see our stitch marker is coming up right here in this stitch. Okay, I'm sorry, out of the camera. So we can do our last single crochet here, and then we're going to work straight into this next stitch. So we're just going to pull our stitch marker, move it up, and work another row of single crochets straight into that stitch. No join, no chain up. Just making our bottom of our bag right now. So I'm going to go ahead and speed through this. If you want to just go ahead and pause the video at this time, what you're going to want to do, and I'll come back when I get to that point. We're going to, I'm going to fold this outwards first so it doesn't keep smacking back in the camera at ya. We're going to go ahead and work another row of our single crochets. You'll do 2 more rows after this row of just single crochets. So after this one, you're going to work 2 more rows just like we have been. And I will meet you at the end of that. So just continue on, pause the video, and when you hit play again, we will be nearing the end of that 4th row of single crochets. So I'll see you in just a bit. Pause your video. So we are just coming into the end of our 4th round of single crochets here. There's 53 and 54. And then we're back at the stitch marker. So you've got a little bit kind of like a boat, and this is the bottom of our bag. So moving on to our next round, we are going to first go ahead and join at the end of our single crochet rounds. So we're just going to come into this next one, yarn over, and pull through both of those and join there. And we're going to chain 1 for this next round. I'm going to go ahead and place my stitch marker again. And as you see, I'm just placing it right after that chain up, right before my first stitch. So into the same space as your chain up, we're going to make a puff stitch. And how we're doing that is we're just going to come up just a little bit from our chain 1. You know, give it a little bit of slack there. And then we're going to yarn over, we're going to go into that same chain space stitch, yarn over and pull through. We have 3 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over again, go into that same stitch, yarn over, pull through. We now have 5 loops on our hook. And then we're going to yarn over one more time, and we're going to go back into that same chain space. We now have 7 loops on our hook. And we're going to yarn over and pull through all 7 loops on our hook. And then we will chain 1 to complete our puff stitch. Now we're going to chain 1 after that. We're going to skip this stitch and we're going to work another puff stitch into this stitch. So we're going to yarn over, go into the stitch, yarn over and pull through, yarn over, go in for a second time, yarn over, pull through for 5 loops on our hook. Yarn over for your third and final time, insert into that same stitch, pull through for 7 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all 7 loops on your hook, and then chain to finish that puff stitch. We're going to chain 1, skip our next stitch, work another puff stitch into this next stitch, and we're going to repeat this into every other stitch. We're going to be making our puff stitch, and our puff stitch ends or is finished by chaining 1, and then we'll chain 1 to skip this one. We're making up for this one that we're skipping with our chain 1 and working our puff stitch into the next. And you continue this to the end of this round. And when we get to the other side here, I'll meet back up with you to finish our last one. Go ahead and pause the video. So we're coming into the end of our puff stitch round, and we're right here. We are going to be making one more. We've gone ahead and chained our 1 after we closed off our puff stitch. We're going to skip this next stitch and work into this stitch here, another puff stitch. Close our puff stitch and chain 1. Now it would appear that we have 2 more stitches here, which we do not. This is a part of our chain up here. This is the stitch we're going to be skipping, and we're just going to go ahead and join over here to the top of that puff stitch, the first one we made. So just join with a slip stitch to that. So this is where we're at here. You should have the same number of puff stitches that we had in our foundation chain, because we started with our very first stitch. So that gives us 27 puff stitches. Okay. So in this next row or round, we are going to chain 1, and we're going to go ahead and move our stitch marker up. The first stitch we're going to make is going to be into the puff stitch right there. So we're not going to do anything to this same chain space here. We're going to work into the puff stitch right into the stitch above it. A single crochet. And then we're going to work 1 single crochet into the chain space. We're back over our puff stitch, so we're going to go in and single crochet into that puff stitch, and then we're going to do one in the next chain space, and then our puff stitch, and we're repeating that pattern all around for this round. So into the chain space and then into your puff stitch. So when you're finished with this round, you're going to have a total of 54 stitches. So if you're getting stuck anywhere, just make sure to count your stitches out. And make sure that you have your magic number for whatever size that you're making yours. So in the puff stitch, in the chain space. Puff stitch, chain space. So go ahead and complete this round. And pause the video, and when you push play again, we will be at the end of this round. Now we're coming into the end of this row. We just have a few more to do. This is a really quick round. All of these are quick rounds actually once you get going with it. And we're going to finish this round with a single crochet into that chain space, and then we're going to join into, you see where our stitch marker is, right into that space. Nope, our stitch marker is not right there, sorry. That's our chain up space right there. You can see by pulling your stitch marker up what stitch you're going into here. And by George, it is. We are moving our stitch marker up. And working into this first stitch here, we're going to work 1 single crochet into each stitch around for a total of 54 stitches at the end, or however many stitches you are using for your bag. So we're just going through, working 1 single crochet into each of the stitches. Go ahead and complete this round, pause the video, and when you push play, we will be back. So we are at the end of our single crochet round. This is where we're at so far, and we have just stitched 54. So we're going to go ahead and join to finish this off. We're going to move our stitch marker up, and you're going to work 2 more rounds of single crochet, just like we did here. We're going to start, this time we're going to be starting right into this space, this chain space here, for our 54 stitches. So that is our start, and we're going to just work, like I said, 1 single crochet into each of our stitches around. Total of 54 at the end. Just count them to make sure if you're not feeling confident on that. and I will see you at the end of your second. Do 2 of these rows, 2 rounds of single crochets, and then we'll meet after that. So go ahead and pause your video, and I'll see you in just a bit. And now I'm coming to the end of my last row, my 4th row of single crochets. And this is my last stitch right here for 54. Remember, that's not a stitch, that's our chain up area there. But we're just going to go ahead and join right over here with a slip stitch. We're going to move our stitch marker up, chain 1, and this will be our first repeat row. We are going to be going back to the puff stitch. So remember that we're working straight into that same chain space with our first puff stitch, and we're going to pull this up just a little bit, yarn over, go into that same stitch, yarn over, pull through for 3 loops on your hook, yarn over into that same stitch, yarn over, pull through 4 or 5 loops on your hook, yarn over, and you've got 7 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and pull through all 7 of those loops on your hook, and then chain 1 to finish off that puff stitch. We're going to chain 1 more, so that will make up for our skip stitch, and we're going to work another puff stitch into the following, pulling through all on your hook, chaining 1 to finish that puff stitch, and then chaining 1 for our skip stitch. So continue around with your puff stitch row, and when you've completed this, you can unpause the video, and I'll be right at the end of this round. Now we're not seeing any color changes. I still have a little bit of this left. It has a long color stream, so if you're making a smaller one, you'll probably get 2 colors on these with the Bernat Pop. But you could see this here, and this is I like this about the yarn. I like these little speckles of color here and there, but you can expect that. I have worked with 3 different rolls now, and they all are doing the same thing. So go ahead and pause this, guys, and continue around with the puff stitch round, and I will meet you on the other side. Okay, so you see my new color is coming in now. But that's quite a bit that you have with that one color, with a few speckles here and there, different colors. But I'm right at the end here. Then I just need to close off that puff stitch there, and then chain 1 for my skip stitch, work in my last cluster or puff stitch. And I hope you all forgive me. I have a cold and my throat is sore. I just have all kinds of fun things going on right now. And then that's our skip stitch, and remember, that's not a stitch. So we are going to close our puff stitch, chain 1 more, and then we're going to come over here on top of this puff stitch and join, like so. And that is where we're at. And then I'm going to complete this repeat row, and then you can grow it for as long as you like. And I'll grow mine for as long as I like. And then we shall meet towards the end. But that way I'll be able to show you, for instance, if you'd like to make a closure, I could show you how I did that. And I'll also include, of course, the handle in that. So I'm moving my stitch marker up, chaining 1, moving this up. And remember, after the puff stitch, our first single crochet that we make is going to be right on top of the puff stitch. So when we chain one, we're going to come over here to the top of this puff stitch and we're going to work a single crochet. And make sure you're working it into the top of the puff stitch because it's kind of easy to get over here into the chain space. And we're already going to be making a single crochet in the chain space. So you're just going to be putting a single crochet on the puff stitch and a single crochet in the chain space on the puff stitch in the chain space all the way around, and you'll end with that single crochet in your last chain space before we join. So go ahead and pause the video and continue on your path around. I am so sorry. I don't know what is going on with my camera, but it just keeps blanking out on me here. So I apologize for all these start and stops. I'm really not trying to make this confusing. But go ahead and finish this round of single crochets. And then when you get to the end, you're going to join in with the first single crochet made from this round. And you're going to chain one, replace your stitch marker in the next row, and you're going to start out by working your first single crochet into the same as that chain space that you're currently in, or that you will be in. So go ahead and do that, pause your video, and when I come back, I will have my total of 4 rows, including this row completed. So I'll be back in just a bit. Okay, so I'm just jumping back in real quick to show you where we're joining, just to reiterate this. We've worked our last single crochet in this round. Remember, this is the chain space here, so it's not our stitch, but we want to put our we want to join to our first single crochet made. And that will be the first single crochet that we make for our next round. Okay? So go ahead and complete those rounds and I'll be back in a bit. Okay, so now we've reached the end of our workup of our 4. And it's 4 because this is our first, second, third, fourth. And we're just going to come over here and join to the top of that first single crochet. All right, so we have completed our second repeat on this, and you're going to just continue to grow it for as long as you like. If you want to leave it here, you can leave it here, because we're going to go, I want to show you now how we could work a closure like this. And I just took a button that I had and just, you know, made the placement, put it where I needed to put it, and then we'll go into the handle part of this as well. But if you are going to continue to grow this, after you've worked your 4 rows of single crochets, you're going to go back to working your puff stitch row, and then you'll be working again the single crochets on top and then the 3 additional single crochets. It's that simple. So you just keep working it to whatever, however long you would like your bag to be. And as you can see, I have now 2 stitch markers on my bag, and this is just to help me to know where my stitches are, where my 27 stitches are, because we have 27 on one side, 27 on the other, for a total of 54, our magic number. So divided in half, that's 27, and we want to work in a closure, if you want one like the one I made, we have to kind of divide that up. We have to figure out what we want to do. Now we need to make it, if you're going to do one right in the middle here, we need to make it so it's even. So for instance, we have 27 stitches. We decide how long we would like for our middle to be here. Okay, so what we are gonna do is we're gonna make our flap 11 stitches. So we will start, like I said, keep growing if you want to keep growing this, and then just, you know, pause it here so that you could do this when you get to that point. I'm going to go ahead and move this up here. And we're just going to work slip stitches into the first 8. I've decided that I'm going to do 8 on each side, and then 11 stitches will be the flap. And that'll make sense to you in a second here, if I'm confusing it. We're doing slip stitches here. And this is going to be whatever your final round is. This is where you're going to work your final round. We're going to slip stitch 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, oops, 7, and 8. Okay, and then we are going to work into, it's going to be this stitch right here. We're going to work a single crochet into each of the next 11. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. So that's where our flap is going to start, right there. And you could also sew a zipper in there, so, you know, consider that as well. So from here, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and chain 1. We're going to turn our work, and working into our first, we're going to just work single crochets into each of the stitches. Wait a second. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8, yep. 9, 10, and 11. And so now I'm not going to chain 1 going back through. I'm just going to go ahead and work my single crochets to keep a more level side. There's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And we're going to turn it, and you're just going to continue without chaining anymore after that one. You're just going to continue to grow the flap to your desired length where you'd like it to, where you'd like to place your button on the other side. Okay, and we're just going to continue and continue and continue. I'm going to let you pause your video if you're working on this right now with me, and I'm just going to super speed through it because I'm not going to make a real big one here. I'm going to show you how you're going to, which most all of you will know, but how you can figure out your button placement. Okay, so our flap right now is coming down. Oh, it's perfect. Perfect. Okay. So, where the flap is coming right now, I would actually remove this last row. And I'll show you why. Because I need to actually make a button closure. So I'm going to remove 2. Otherwise, I can't sew my button on anything but the puff stitches, and I don't want to do that. So I want to have my button about right here. And so I have just like 4 or 5 rows, 5 rows that I made there. But then what I'm going to do is I'm going to split this in half. I have 11 total stitches here. So say I want to make my buttonhole 3 stitches, 3 stitches long. So that would give me 8 left over. So I would need 4 on one side, 4 on the other, and 3 in the middle. So what we're going to do is we're going to go down the line. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And then we're going to do 3 chains. So we're going to go 1, 2, and 3. And we're going to skip 1, 2, 3, and come over here and work a single crochet into the last 4, 2, 3. I'm not grabbing all of that stitch. 4. And I'm going to turn around and I'm going to come back over this with single crochets just to keep, you know, you don't want your chains to be the final on that, if at all possible, because it's going to stretch out over time. So we've got 3 in the middle here. We want to make 3 right into the chain space. And then we're going to finish off here our last 4. Okay. So we have our button placement. And we would place our button, you know, right about there. You'll know where to place it. You just want to put it to where you can slide it in the stitch, and not too far over to the right, not too far over to the left, not too far up, so that you're not making this all discombobulated. So you can do that. And then I just go around and you can either finish off and start over here and come down. I'm going to leave this part undone right now just because I haven't, just because we're on video. I don't want to go through and do the slip stitch all the way around. So I'm just going to do it right in here. And what I'm going to do is just border everything on the flap end with a slip stitch. And that'll help too to keep that buttonhole tough for a little bit. Oops. Okay, so once you finish this, and like I said, you can just finish off that part. When you get to this, you can just finish that off and hide that tail in here, and then take your yarn back over and work it around, or work it from here, 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 and then continue on if you like. But like I said, I'm not going to even mess with that. I'll do that with another piece of yarn when I finish. Because I don't even care if it's another color. I actually was hoping to get through another color in here, or get to another color. But that is not going to happen. Oh, I might have a little darker of yellow, but okay, so you can get the idea anyhow of how that's going to work out. And if you steam that, it's going to lay nicely. And of course you want to have that done. And this is optional. Like I said, I did the front loops of what I had left on my last one. But then you're going to continue around. Once you get down to this end, you're just going to continue around and finish off the entire top of this with your slip stitches, just to give it a nice finish. And we can take this out now, along with our hook. And slip stitching is not one of my favorite things to do. However, it does kind of polish off a project sometimes and make it look so much better and neater. So I'll put up with it. Okay, so we are coming to the end, my friends. Almost, not quite. And when I get to the end, I'm going to grab what I need so that I can show you how to make that rope and make yourself a really pretty purse strap. And there's some little tricks to how I attached everything in the purse, just to make it nice and secure and easy. And I did it on the inside, so if somebody didn't want, decided they didn't want to use the strap one day, they could just tuck that strap into the purse and be on their way. There's so many creative things you can do with that finishing with the handle. So that's a nice thing. But we're just going to join into that join space right there from the beginning with a slip stitch right there. And then when I get to the end, I really don't want to take the stitch marker out because that's going to show me where to put my handle. But it's tight in there. I'm always doing one more chain up when I finish so that I can lock it really well into place there. And I'm just going to chop that off. Okay. So you can see just how nicely that finishes off your work. It just makes it look so much neater. Okay, so the only thing I have left to do with this is to place my button, make my purse handles, and come back in and slip stitch down the rest of this side here. and this side if you have that as well. Okay, so I'm gonna just grab a couple of things, but it will only be seconds for you, but it'll be a couple minutes for me getting my stuff together. So give me just a couple of seconds and I'll be right back. So now I'd like to go over how we make this kind of handle, this tube-like handle. It's really actually a fun handle, and it's going to hold its form a little better than your normal flat handle will for crochet. It's a lot tougher, so it's not going to stretch out as bad. And the way we do this, and you can drop down in hook size if you like. I'm just going to use the same hook for the video, use the J hook. And we're just going to create our slip knot. And this is really simple. You're not going to see it working up. It's probably gonna look like just a jumbled mess until you get probably about an inch on it. So just keep working it, but this is a very simple way to do it. We're just going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. And then we are going to work a single crochet into our second chain from the hook and our third chain from the hook. Oops. So now we're going to turn our work towards us to the left, and you're going to find this loop right here on the end. We're going to work 1 single crochet into this one loop here. Now you're going to see these 2 loops right down here, and then there's 2 loops right here. And grab a needle and I'll show these a little better because it may be hard to see with all the little fibers. But these 2 loops right here, we're going to work 1 single crochet into this, and then we're going to turn our work slightly so that we can work 1 single crochet into these 2. So we'll start with these. We're going to work our single crochet into these 2 loops. And then we have these 2 loops here. We're going to work a single crochet into those 2 loops. And this cord is created by repeating this around and around and around. So you're just going to continue to work the 2 loops that are in front of you. If you can see that, the next loops that we're going to work will be right here. And then we'll turn slightly. These will be a little further down after we single crochet these. But then we'll turn it slightly and we'll work a single crochet through those. So it's the loops that are right in front of you that you will work into after each slight turn. And it just depends on how thick you want your rope to be. Okay? And you just continue that around. You see that these 2 and these 2 will be our next ones. And as you can see right now, it looks like I'm just holding a bundle of mess. The yarn is just kind of messy right now. We're just basically going in a circle, grabbing the 2 loops. And sometimes it's a little more difficult to get into it, but just kind of work in there carefully so that you're not splitting any of the strands up. But you'll just continue that around and continue it around. And you're going to end up with a rope look like the one I showed you on that purse. So I'll do just a few here so that you can see. Maybe we can get a better idea of how it's going to look, or you could just look at my purse again, because that one is complete. But I'll do 4 more and then we'll look at it. But see how easy that is. 2, we'll do 2 more. Okay. So you could see it's just forming the rope. And you just be consistent with the tension as you're going so you don't end up with a bulkier part here or there. Just remain consistent with your tension, and then you'll have this 3-dimensional tube. And we do have another one if you're looking for like maybe a flatter tube. I'm going to pull this out and I'll show you. There's one other. Make our slip knot. All right, so for this next one, we're going to chain 2. So we're going 1 and 2. And then we're going to work our the first chain made, we're going to work a single crochet into. Right there. We're going to turn our work and work into that loop on the end, right there. A single crochet. And then we're going to work into these 2 loops right here. Okay, another single crochet. So the way we're making this is actually the same exact way, only we're only going to be working before our slight turn, we're only going to be working the 2 loops. So we'll work these 2 loops next. And this comes up with a really fun cord too. It's just not, it's a little flatter on one side. And I'm going to work a few of these so you can just get an idea of the difference in the 2. But we're just going in a circle with this one. And instead of working the 2 sets of loops that are right in front of us, we're just slightly turning and working the next 2 sets of loops, if that makes any sense. So it does come out smaller and less of a tube shape than the last one we just did. But this is fun for so many different projects. You can use this I-cord type workup. I'll just work a few more. I'll do 4 more and then we'll look at it, and just so you can see the difference in what I've done. 2, 3, 4. Okay, so maybe you can see it now. This one is just creating it's a little flatter. You have your little lines here on this side, and it's pretty much the same on the other side, but it's not as round tube shaped, excuse me, as the last one. It's a little flatter, but that also is a nice one, and it's pretty sturdy, so that that is another option. And this is the one I used for the braided handle. So the beach bag that you see in the photos, I made 2 of these the length that I wanted for my handles, and then I twisted them and just kind of tacked them together throughout so that it remained twisted. That worked perfect for this, and I really like how that turned out. So those are two different options that you have for your purse straps. And I hope that was helpful. Any questions, feel free to ask me in the comments. So there you have it, friends. We've worked up the new Northern Lights handbags, and I really hope you've enjoyed this. This is such a fun yarn to work with. I love the Bernat Pop, and I love the color choices. I've tried 4 of them now, and they're really, it's a very soft yarn, and I think you'll really enjoy working with it. I have not tried the other cakes, such as the Karen or the sweet rolls. I have not tried those yet, so I'm not going to compare them. I just really enjoyed working with this. So if you've enjoyed this video, I hope that you'll subscribe to my channel. Just click below to subscribe. I have new patterns coming out all the time, free walkthroughs, tutorials, and then on our website at yarnwars.com, you'll find all of the patterns, the written patterns that you can follow along on the website and make. We do have a group at www.facebook.com/groups/yarnwars. And in our group, you'll be a part of a community of thousands of members from around the world. We have a great community, so active and supportive. It's just a fun place to be. And if you're looking for some inspiration, you will find so much inspiration in that group. But I do keep all of my PDF downloadable printable files. All of my patterns for Yarn Wars are kept in the Files tab just below the timeline photo in our Yarn Wars group on Facebook. So make sure you get over there and join for free. Join our community. You can kind of strut your stuff over there, show off your work, and introduce yourself to the community. You'll make a lot of great friends there, you know, in the yarn crafting world. It's a fun place. But again, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, and let your friends know. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.